Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a sunny day. I'm excited to get started on today's training around how I get in the door with federal buyers. So I got a good amount of stuff I want to talk about. Whenever I mention federal buyers, you can always equate that with getting in with teammates, small or large businesses, because it's kind of the same thing. How do you get the first meeting with the business person, the customer that you want to work with, whether it's a prime contractor you're trying to work with, or a federal buyer. So that's what we're going to talk about today. When I think about picking a topic like this and why I'm driving forward, it's because I get this question the most. How do I get in the door? Literally, I started a whole company now called Call Plan AI around the way of automating that. But still, you need to understand the manual way of getting in the door, because if you've been in government contracting, federal government contracting long enough, you'll hear people say that it's not who you know, but it's who knows. It's not what you know, but who you know. And that's a really important thing, right? Everybody tells you you've got to get in there and meet these federal buyers and teammates to get to start those relationships and to have people know you, et cetera. But how do you get those meetings started? That's a struggle for a lot of you. And it's really important that I want to be able to help you with. If you can land the first meeting, then I believe that you can get the second meeting, which leads to the relationship, et cetera. And the idea is around today's training is, how can you get the first meeting? It's like, great, I hear you say, build a relationship, meet with them, have discussions, et cetera. How do I get in the door? How do I even get that first meeting? Literally, I was talking this week with somebody else, a subscriber of mine, who was talking about this very thing. It's like, no, it totally makes sense what you're saying, Neil, but how do I get in? How do I find them? And how do I get in? And what I'd like to suggest is that if you can get in, then you're going to be able to get that first meeting, which leads to the second meeting. And I've done a ton of training on that. But if you can get 2 meetings with somebody, then you can develop a relationship, and you can build that into a long-term relationship that's going to help you learn about opportunities and grow your company. I want to break up today's training around how to get that first meeting into 3 sections. First section is why first meetings are important. I don't want to go on the assumption we know this, but they're vitally important to your success. More importantly, in the beginning 5 years of your business, first meetings are incredibly important. The reason I suggest that maybe they're a little less important afterwards is because you got a lot of reputation and you'll get a lot more introductions that you don't have to make as many cold calls. And so right now I'm equating first meetings with cold calls, and we'll talk about that. And so after I talk about that, I want to tell you, how do I prepare to start having these first meetings? What are some of the activities I do that you can do? So basically, I'm going to tell you my process, exactly what I'm doing, or many of the things that I do. And then I'm going to wrap up with how I get those meetings. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is how to prepare to get the first meeting. And then the third thing I'll talk about is how to actually get those meetings. What are some of the steps I go through? I'll show you a 30-day process I follow and I teach. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If that's what excites you and what you want, just put First Meetings Rock in the chat or in the comments. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I'm founder of Call Plan AI. I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market after I got out of the Army as a small business government contractor. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. It's why I do this training. It's what I believe you can learn today on having repeatable, predictable results of getting those first meetings. So I'm excited to deliver this to you. If you haven't followed me on LinkedIn, make sure you do. If you're over on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or something, come on over into LinkedIn, because not only do you get to engage with people in the chat more by name rather than handle or something, but you're able to build your network. And as you build your network, it sure makes those first meetings easier when somebody in my network, in my training, introduces you to someone else. And then if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, subscribe to it. It's Government Contracting Success Newsletter. It's where I put out content that will help you in your government contracting journey, in particular in the federal market. Come back or follow me. Make sure you're tracking on me, because over the weekend is when I let you know about next week's training. I just don't have those lined up yet. I always line them up on the weekends. All right, let's dive into the first section. Here, I want to talk about why first meetings are so vital. Sometimes we would just think, oh, everybody knows they're important and they're vital. And I have learned that people don't. They don't see the big picture, and maybe you do, and maybe you don't. But by me sharing with you today why I think it's vital, it'll at least teach you, if not give you a little refresher reminder, even if you got 10 years of experience, right? So I mentioned this a little bit in the introduction. It's not who you know, excuse me, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And this is kind of a loaded statement. It's out there. I don't actually wholly believe it, but it is a level of truism out there that if people don't know you, then it does not matter that you're the best at what you do. It does not matter that you've got all this great stuff. If even you and me, right? It doesn't matter if I can teach you how to get these first meetings. If you don't know me, if people you know don't know me and let you know about me, if somehow I don't hit your world and you know me, then what does it matter what I know or how I can teach you, right? And so it's really important for you to understand that first meetings are addressing that concern. Another way of looking at this is this line that says people buy from those they know, like, and trust. In that first bullet, right? People buy from those they know. And so we need to help our buyers and our teammates get to know us. We do that through simple activity we might do on LinkedIn and engagement, going to events. But primarily, we're trying to target the people we want to meet and get in there and get them to know us. And by getting in and having the first meeting, that is the step that begins the like and trust part, right? You can do things that might get people to know you. But when you get in and you start having conversations with your customer or your teammate about some of their concerns or some of their questions, and you're able to have that conversation with them in a way that they feel like it was a valuable use of their time, you're building trust and you're building credibility, and they like you, right? That credibility is where I like them. And so first meetings really enable this. And by the way, when I teach sales, I actually sometimes say first and second meetings are the same thing. Don't get overly fixated on first impressions, right? Your job is to come in pretty good. But if you're newer to this, don't worry. You'll get better and better every time you tell the message about your company and about how you can help people, et cetera. But the idea here is to get in and just start talking about what you know and aligning that to your customers' needs. Another reason why I say that first meetings are really important and that you should be doing them is they're the start of a new relationship. If you know, you might not have seen this, and I'm not going to show it at the moment, but I have a 7-step process that I teach. And this is the 7-step process for federal revenue success. It begins with step 1, which is research, understanding the customer, et cetera. And then step 2 is targeting. Step 3 is outreach. Those 3 are what I call the path to relationships. Step 4 is relationships. It's strategic relationships. When you have a strategic relationship, then you can hear about step 5, which are opportunities. You hear about opportunities that fit well for you. When you have enough opportunities you're hearing about from your strategic relationships that relate to what you sell, then you're able to write winning proposals. And the more winning proposals you can write, step 6 and then step 7 is sales. The more sales you're winning, more contracts you're landing, right? And that all kind of starts with relationships. And this is one of the reasons I say first meetings are vital, because if you know you need strategic relationships to hear about the opportunities you can win, then you need to get started building those relationships. And the first step of building a relationship is, the first meeting. And so I talk about strategic relationships there as well. The one last thing I want to leave you about why they're important is I wanted to just give you an action item or a number to put in your head that goes with this. You should be meeting at least one new person a day. So I call these intro calls. If I've never met the person before and I'm doing a cold call, literally that's what I call them when I reach out. It's like, hey, can I get 10, 15 minutes for a quick intro call? It could go 30 minutes, never, ever beyond 30 minutes, because this is an intro call. We're just seeing if it makes sense. And if it does, then we can schedule a follow-on. In 15 minutes, both you and the other party can make a decision on whether you're going to be able to, build a relationship, et cetera. And so you want to schedule at least one meeting a day. If you schedule one meeting a day, one new intro meeting a day, then you're starting potentially 240 relationships. There's about 240 work days in a given year, right? You could even narrow that down to say like 220, but that's 220 or 240 people that you're having a meeting with every single year. And if you've ever seen my bell curve, and you can watch that in different training, but what I say is if you reach out to 100 people, half of them won't want to talk to you or ever will talk to you, and half of them will in some stage or another. But 16 out of 100, they're just waiting for your call. And so you need to reach out to enough people. In this case, let's say having 240 calls, you reach out and have that many meetings in a year. By the end of the year, you're going to have 40 strategic relationships. 16 for 100, 16 for another 100 is 36. Throw on another 4 for the 40, and you've got 40 strategic relationships. And when I say a strategic relationship, I mean these people are looking out for your growth. They're the people who are going to put you on a team or tell you about an opportunity, et cetera. These are very strong relationships, but it takes you reaching out and having 240 meetings in a year. It's not that hard to have a 15 to 30 minute meeting every day. It's a little bit of a ramp up to get started, but once you get going, it gets easier and easier, just like riding a bike or cooking meals or something. You're not that good in the beginning, but as you keep doing it and do more and more of it, you get really good. Okay, so that's why first meetings are valuable. Let me share a little bit about how I prepare to land these first meetings. So before I even do any outreach or any of that kind of stuff, I want to prepare myself to have the most chance of getting those 240. By the way, when I say 240 meetings that you're going to have, that means you're going to have to reach out to 1,000 people or something over the course of a year. And that's not a big deal when you consider the federal market's got millions, right? So there's enough people in there, and it takes time, and you've got to be committed. And I think I might say this somewhere else, but you have got to have a personal commitment to grow your company in order to make a fair amount of calls. I literally right now reach out to 50 companies a morning. And I'm reaching out new. I'm seeing where I can build relationships, not just for me, but for some customers as well. So here's what I do. The first thing I do is I determine my target stakeholder. And what I mean by this is, you don't want to call out, you don't want to try to reach out to people who are in different roles in their company and their organization or whatever at the same time. So it's totally okay to reach out to contracting officers, but don't reach out to them at the same time you're reaching out to a small business specialist, or at the same time you're trying to reach out to like a program office or a teaming partner. If you're going to reach out to an agency, pick one group. So let's say small business professionals. In the VA, there's, let's use the Navy because I'm a little more familiar, but there's over 100 in the Navy, right? And so I determine my stakeholder. I say, hey, I'm going to reach out to them. And I could do the same thing in the Navy, say, I'm going to reach out to contracting officers. And I would go over to FPDS, and this goes into step 2 here is I would create my list of contracting officers of 100 or 200 contracting officers to start, right? I'm building that target list of contracting officers with emails, and I'm going to try to find their phone numbers. But I've determined my stakeholder group, so I stay in the same swim lane. If you've ever experienced this yourself, like you're working on something and somebody interrupts it, especially if you're working on, like, let's say a proposal or a PowerPoint deck or something, you're in the middle of it. And if somebody interrupts you, then when you come back, this is kind of a known, there's known studies on this, but it takes time to ramp back up. And you're like, what's going on? And so here I'm trying to keep you focused. And when you stick to one stakeholder group, all of your, everything you say, everything you're creating, your PowerPoint decks, et cetera, I'll talk about, all that stuff is focus on that one stakeholder. So you get really good at it. And if you then begin to reach out to these 100, 200 people, your fourth call, your fifth call, your 10th call, they're going to go so much easier because you'll know what to say and you'll get so much in the rhythm compared to imagine like if you have to switch gears to talk to a different stakeholder. Okay, so I determine my stakeholder group. I build a list of 100 to 200 names. And by the way, the only reason I say 100 is because I don't want to scare you with 200, but you should build a list of 200 people. Right? You should start with 200. It's not that hard. And I have lots of videos you can go watch about how do I find people. I literally in a live will show you building a list of 200 people in 10 minutes, 20 minutes or something. And so if you're going to try harder stakeholders like program office, it'll take a little longer, but you can still do it. Literally, I just put out an org chart for one command called the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, AFLCMC. And that org chart alone had almost 100 people on it with the offices, the names. It allowed me to kind of pick it. And then I could follow that through to find them on LinkedIn, find them on email, et cetera. So I'm building that target list. The third thing I'm going to do, and this is when I start. So first I worked on the people. Who am I going to call? Then I am working on what am I going to say? And there's a common set of templates that you want to have in place for when you're doing this initial outreach to new people. The first thing is I build an email template. I want the same template that is basically saying, hey, this is Neil. I'd love to connect to have an intro call, right? And you can go watch other training where I lay out the whole script on it, but I might tweak that. So if I'm calling the Navy and I'm reaching out to those 100 small business professionals in the Navy or something, I might say, hey, but we've been supporting the Army, but we'd love to be able to support the Navy, and I'd love to have an intro call, tell you what we've done, learn a little bit about where you're going. Something like that, right? So what I want is this common message that I'm going to put in. I do not tweak my messages. I know there's people that fall in different categories. I'll tell you where I'm at. I do not tweak my message. If I'm reaching out to the Navy, I'm not going to spend all this extra time trying to tweak the message to the command I'm reaching out to. It's not worth it. I have been doing sales for a long time, and you can just do these tests yourself and you find out, do I get any difference if I sit there and say, instead of saying Navy, I say NAVSEA or NAVAIR or NAVWAR? It really doesn't help, and it slows me down. And so I'm just personalizing the person's first name in the beginning. By the way, that's something I do, is I always call people by the first name, unless it's like a general or something. But I call them by the first name. You're going to call me by my first name. But the other reason is, for me, I'm comfortable with this. I'm trying to build a relationship, not a reporting structure with you. I'm not subordinate to you. We're partners. I'm looking for people who want to have strategic relationships. And so I like that it's friendly. And I believe the whole Mr. and Miss thing is old school, very, very old school. And I'm not here to debate, because somebody else can tell you something different, and fine, listen to them. You pick your favorite and you run with it, right? We're advisors to you. So I have an email template. I got that. It's pretty good. I do not include a capability statement in case you're going to ask that. I don't give them anything extra, and I don't put anything in really about my company. I'm maybe the one or two words, right? We've been doing a lot on the data analytics side. Love to talk with you about that, because I kind of want to get rejected in the email for them to go, oh, that's not us. I do construction. You need to talk with Johnny over there, or that's not us. I'm like, cool, then I won't waste my time with you. You're one of the no's. I need to get 50 no's for every 50 potential yeses, right? And so you want to be able to make it easy for them. But the other thing in my email template is I give them a choice, right? If convenient, and I write a line, something like, if convenient for you, I'm available next Tuesday or Thursday at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. if that works for you, right? And I just leave it like that. And my goal is to get them to pick a day or pick a time that works for them. I just gave them 4 options. If it doesn't work for them, that's fine. We try to schedule. I never send them to like a calendar, things like that. There's a whole school of us who hate that. But in particular, with your customers, don't make them do the work. Anyway, so there's the email template. Now I'm going to use that over and over again as I go out. I'm not going to spam everybody. I really am writing them one at a time, but I'm using a template. I want to do the same thing with a voicemail script, and I might talk about how I do this in a minute, but the voicemail script is identical in structure basically to the email. Hey, I'm just following up to the email I sent, and just trying to schedule an intro call. We've been doing some work with the Army. Would love to support you over at the Navy. Can I get 15 minutes of your time to have an intro call, right? And I'm kind of brutalizing the script a little bit, but go find my previous training where I laid it out exact word for word. But when I do that, now I have an email that I send, and I have a voicemail that I can follow up with. Don't be afraid of the phone. The phone's a good thing, which I'll show you in a second. And then last thing I put together is a call plan. If you're not familiar with this, and so I created a whole company around Call Plan AI. That's to automate the process. But I have taught this 1,000 times. And when I say 1,000, I mean I have taught about the call plan probably 50 or 100 times. And so you can go find this, where I talk about, how do you organize the meeting? What do you say when you have this first meeting? How do you get it started? How do you guide the other person through it? And so you want to create a call plan template. Since I'm reaching out to just one stakeholder, in this particular case, I don't really need a unique call plan too much. I want a template that's got basically the same 5 to 10 questions, because part of what the meeting's for is for me to discover about them. Do I want to work with them? Am I reaching out actually to the right people? And so a call plan has that. When I land a meeting, then I'll come back to a call plan, and I'll create a separate one for each person based on this template. And so I'll tweak a couple of little things. For example, one thing I have in a call plan is called an icebreaker. This way you don't start talking about the weather or Disneyland or golf, but you talk about something like, oh, I saw you on a podcast with the Department of Army, whatever. And so I tweak it there. But these are the steps I take to prepare for that meeting. So let me tell you what I do to get the meeting. Oh, before I do, I just want to say thanks to Voltron. They help you write more winning federal proposals with purpose-built AI. And basically what this means is that they can take you from solicitation to a clear, compelling, compliant, and convincing proposal in a matter of minutes instead of weeks. And that's a huge deal as the whole federal market is evolving with AI coming into the mix, and your ability to deliver winning proposals faster so you can beat your competitor. These guys are excellent at it. I love being teamed up with them because they are helping me bring this training to you day after day. So do me a favor, throw thanks to Voltron in the chat. And if you're of size, maybe go get a demo. Okay, so let's talk about how I get meetings with people I don't know. Like, what do I do, right? And it's not overly complicated. This is why I say it's government contracting is not a secret. It's a process. And the minute people like me can share with you the process, you can sit there, you can begin to execute on that process and then maybe tweak it a teeny bit to fit your company better. But I'm giving you a baseline process that works for many, many of us. So the first thing I do is try to get an introduction, right? If I'm going to get meetings, I would reach out to people and try to get them to do an introduction. Literally, I'm doing that right now for a company that I advise. I'm helping them get meetings just by making an introduction. I think it takes me literally 10, 15 seconds, about that, to make an introduction. And my introduction is pretty warm. Hey, I've got this friend in the GovCon community. I'd love for you to meet him. Would you be open to a meeting? Right? And the fact that I just asked, the other person's like, sure. And I don't abuse it. I don't ask them a lot of times. But if you have people who can make an introduction, reach out and ask. I have a huge network. If you're looking at my network, feel free to look out and say, hey, Neil, could you make an introduction? Don't ask me to make a ton of introductions, but if you look around your network, people will make introductions for you. Second thing, and more importantly, is how I do the cold call outreach. So the first thing I do is I send an email, right? And I send that email based on the template I do. And I like sending emails in the morning. I'll send it out, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Generally, it depends on where you're at, but basically East Coast time is what I like to operate on. But I'm sending an email out, and the reason I like that is so that I can engage with them again later in the day. I send an email out, and the email follows the template I already told you about. And if I don't hear back from them, I follow back up after lunch, so like 1 or 2 o'clock East Coast time, and I call and leave a voicemail. And almost nobody answers the phone. You might get lucky somebody answers it, and that just speeds you along. By the way, a quick sidebar. If somebody answers the phone, don't have a meeting. Regurgitate that voicemail in a way that you can live by saying, hey, I was just calling you to try to schedule a meeting. And they go, what's this about? Well, I wanted to introduce ourselves because we're doing something with the Navy or the Army. We'd love to talk to you about supporting the Navy. But I know I'm catching you off guard and I'm actually not prepared to have the meeting now. Can we look next week on Tuesday or Thursday? Like if anybody ever answers the phone, try to schedule it out. Never have a meeting immediately when you get somebody, because then you're having that meeting completely unprepared. So anyways, I leave a voicemail in the afternoon and I put 2 hours later, but you spread it out. And the idea is you're following up the email with a voicemail. And now these people we call these marketing touch points, right? So now you're doing a touch point with this person. You've already got 2 down and you're starting to engage with them. They'll read from you. They'll read your request. They'll hear your request. If you want a meeting with these people, if they don't send you a no, the answer is maybe, or I didn't see your email. It is anything but no, unless they say no. So you want to keep following up professionally, but persistent. You want to persistently follow up. And let me show you really quick. I put together this sales lead follow-up process, and I built it because people ask me how often was too often to call. How many times should I reach out until I give up? You give up when you stop wanting to make money. You give up when you want to stop winning contracts, right? But if you want to make money, if you want to win contracts, keep knocking on doors. Girl Scouts do it. Do you ever see them walk away from the grocery store? No, the rain, snow, shining, doesn't matter. They're there selling the cookies. Be as determined as Girl Scouts and you will grow your business. Okay, so there's a little off the cuff analogy there, but I'm in a good mood. So here's what I put together, and I don't know if you can see this pretty well. Let me see if I can zoom in really quick. But what I put here, no, it's not letting me zoom in. Can I zoom in? No. Oh well. So this is a handout, by the way. If you want this, just ask me for the follow-up handout. Just put something like that, follow-up checklist in the chat, and I'll get it back to you. By the way, make sure your first connection. Otherwise, I can't send it through messaging. It's inconvenient. So what I want you to see from here, and I don't want to take a lot of time on this, is that day one, I do a voicemail. Well, so here I reverse a little bit, but I did a voicemail and then an email. So you choose which one you want to start with. But a voicemail, email, and then day 3 is when I follow back up with an email. And day 5, I follow up with a voicemail. And if you see, here's the days, and I stagger them every 2 to 3 days as I'm going forward in a 30-day period. And I stagger voicemail and email. And I always reply to the same email. Hey, I know you're super busy. I know there was a furlough. I just want to stay on your radar. I was looking at my email. There's so many people I want to get back to that I'm forgetting who they are because they're so far down in my inbox. And I'm just hoping that they will come back and resurface their request back up to the top, because I try to get back, but sometimes I don't. And then it's out of sight, out of mind. And so you need to keep this in mind with the government. Same thing. And then I got some tips here. I'm not going to share them at the moment, but you can get this handout and read it. So just let me know if you want that handout. I'm happy to send it to you. Okay, here's what I want you to remember from today's training. The first thing is meeting new people. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's not fun, right? In sales, we can sometimes pretend like it's fun. Though it's only fun when the other person, you connect with them and they turn out to be nice. It's like, oh my God, that was fun. But picking up the phone or even sending an email, right? Even sending an email, your anxiety is going to go up, and that's totally normal. That's our fight or flight kind of, whatever is built into humans, right? Or into animals. And so that comes up in here as well. We don't want to be rejected. And every email we're sending, we're inviting them to reject us, right? So just embrace the fact that doing this particular activity is not going to be the highlight of your day. But if you do it first thing every day, you will be amazed at what gets accomplished. Second thing I want you to remember is that winners do what's not fun. Just think about like the Michael Jordans of the world who come out here and shoot 1,000 baskets in a morning or in a day to get to the stage where they're at. Anywhere you look at very successful, visible people, especially you think athletes or Olympic type people, where it's very obvious what they're doing, or Steve Jobs or any of these people, they do what's not fun. They come back time and time again. If you're willing to do that, you will beat your competitors, because 90% of the people are lazy. Not you, not me, but them, right? So the way you beat your competitors, besides having a good company product and experiences, past performances, is really just effort, showing up and doing what other people won't do. And you will find that 16% of the people out there, they're waiting for your call. If you call 100 people, you're going to get 16 people who want to work with you. By the way, I mean, if you meet with 100 people, 16 are going to be, hey, I want to work with you. Let's make it happen. So hopefully you'll remember that. Don't forget, next week, I will have the training kind of lined up over the weekend. So watch over the weekend. If you're struggling to get in, have that first meeting, and you want guidance on that, you want to get help on starting and building a relationship, this is what I built Call Plan AI for. I'm aligning my trainings now to this new company I'm building. And right now you've got a lot of visibility, because every day at 3:00, I'm there for an hour talking to the subscribers about how I can help them. And so you can bring any question you have about relationship building or really anything right now, and I'm happy to help you. But if you come in, I'll give you 90% off for life. Okay, I just want you to remember government contracting. It's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.